Okay, who here today is married? Oh, wow. Lots of people. All right, why don't you 6 ladies stand up? Okay, I have a question for you, okay? How much debt could your husband rack up before you would divorce him? Okay, look up at the screen. $5,000? If he racked up $5,000, would you be okay?
No.
It'd be all right? No. $50,000.
Yes. Yes. That's mine.
You might be kicking him to the curb. 100,000.
Yes. Oh yeah.
He'd be gone at 100. 500,000.
Yes.
Okay, got the last one. All right. Now, how about this number? $624,600. All right. Sit down if that is not the current amount of debt you are in. That's your debt. How do you feel about that?
Not good.
Overwhelmed?
Overwhelmed. Scared.
Don't know what to do.
Have no clue.
And you say your husband is responsible for most of that number.
For most of it, yeah, I think he is.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk to both of you in a minute, okay? All right, have a seat. Now, whether your debt is $624,000 or it's $624, listen to this show today. Now, I know there are millions of you out there who are worried and overwhelmed about how you're going to pay even your mortgage this month, let alone your other bills. Well, let me tell you, there is a mindset, there is a strategy for dealing with these tough times. That's what I'm going to talk about today. So really, I want you to dial in and listen to this. I want to give you a plan that can help you get the best possible solution in what is clearly a bad economic situation. Now today, I'm talking to Pam and Chris, who admit they're in a financial disaster after 10 years of marriage. Chris is sleeping on the couch. Pam is ready to walk out the door.
Chris and I currently owe approximately $300,000 on our first mortgage, $162,000 to E-loan, Sears $10,200, GM MasterCard $9,000, Macy's $1,200. There's one that has a lighthouse on it. I don't know the name. I think it's $11,000. B of A $17,000. My student loans are $48,000. My parents American Express $700 loan, $4,500. $10,000 is student loan. So this all totals roughly to about $600,000. I didn't want to really add it up.
Well, clearly, the amount of this debt is shocking, but even more shocking is they don't really know how they got there. I mean, how do you rack up that much debt? So I don't know what happened. It just, one day it was there. Pam admits that she should have seen the writing on the wall.
When Chris and I first got married, my credit card debt was $3,000, and I only had an $80,000 mortgage.
My credit was pretty much null and void. I was on a cash-only basis. I had filed bankruptcy to get out from underneath debt from my previous marriage.
Chris owed $9,000 for the back child support. Looking back, I should have seen some of the warning signs. I should have seen where we were heading.
So how did they get in this much debt? Now, clearly, we got a blame game going on here, and Pam says that 75% of this debt is her husband's responsibility. It's his fault.
It's very, very easy to point a finger at somebody else.
I think Chris is responsible for about 75% of the debt.
I consider the debt 50% hers, 50% mine.
Most of the debt we have is from Chris's daughter coming to live with us, for all of the gadgets he buys, projects he wants to start, projects he never finishes. I'm being sued because of Chris's carelessness with money. He has no clue about money management at all. I can't see any light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, these two can point fingers all they want, but that's not going to get them out of debt, obviously, and it's not going to get their marriage back on track. Now, Pam says it just may be too late for a bailout because their marriage is really on the brink.
I'm on the brink of divorce because I can't stand being married to the man who doesn't know how to not spend money.
I do not want a divorce. My life is just going to hell really fast. I consider Pam to being withdrawn, vindictive, very negative. My wife and I fight daily.
I don't trust him anymore. My trust has gone to the toilet.
I feel like a second-class citizen.
I feel financially trapped. I just can't believe this is happening to me. It's time to make decisions and move on with my life and walk away.
Okay, now, first off, we have to acknowledge there's multiple issues here, right? One are the financial issues.
Yeah, that's
I
correct.
mean, that's a really big deal, and in fact, it's the number one reason that people give for relationships failing. So that's one issue. Then the other issue is maybe it's directly from this or other things, but this marriage is not working, right?
No, it's not working.
How much of it do you attribute to the financial pressure and crisis that you're in?
I would say probably 75% of it. I don't.
In fact, you said you can't see being married to a man that can't manage money?
Yes, I did. I said I couldn't stand it anymore. I talked to him about it. I'll ask him something. He'll go to the credit union and take out money he doesn't tell me that's in our impound account for our taxes. And I'll say, Chris, why did you do that? And he'll say, oh, well, I needed it. And it's $80, but it's still the money that I'm thinking I have for taxes or something.
But at the same time, I knew I was having $300 coming back that same day when I bought the paint for the job.
But is that the point, or is the point that you don't tell her what's going on and you guys aren't communicating about
Combination
this?
of both. He does it, and then he says he's going to have the money coming in, and maybe 2 months later, we get the money coming in from the job he was going to do because he won't ask the people for money till he's done with it. So there, the bill's set. I'm supposed to figure out how to get the money to pay the bills. Meanwhile, they're sitting there. He's not asking for the money. I robbed Peter to pay Paul, and it just keeps going.
But now you're taking the role here of victim, honestly. I mean, you're saying that he's victimized you in this.
Probably. In some ways, I maybe feel that way, but I also know it's my own fault because I probably let a lot of it happen.
Well, let's talk about that. I made a list. Before you got married, you knew he had filed bankruptcy, right?
I'm not sure if
Yeah,
I knew
I told
it
her.
before.
I told her
I'm not sure when he
about
told me if he
everything
did. It could have been
before.
before.
You knew he had no credit.
Yes, I knew he had no credit. But he didn't have any debt either at that point in time. And he'd gone back to
Well,
school.
no, because he had taken bankruptcy,
Yeah.
which he told you.
Well, I did have the student
But he's-
loans coming due soon.
But I
'cause
thought
that
it was
coming
only,
up.
he made his bankruptcy sound like it was only like for under $10,000.
Are you
so I
saying
don't
that
know.
you didn't have any warning signs? Because to me, it looks like you had some clear warning signs.
No, I had warning signs. I think I probably maybe ignored them. I thought he went back to school. I thought he was trying to be something and he was making something out of his life. And I thought those things maybe were things that just happened.
Let me just tell you up front, I can't wrap my mind around the fact that you two are $624,600 in debt and you don't really know. You didn't even know that total till we gave it to you, did you?
I didn't want to face it. I knew at least it was I knew it was at least $500,000.
Okay, well, when you got married, your total indebtedness was $131,000.
Yeah. For my
Okay,
mortgage. and
here's what marriage has done for you. Your debt's gone up 491%. You don't get to say, I don't know how that happened. You don't get to say that anymore the rest of this hour, okay? The rest of this show, that's off the table. You don't get to say that because we're going to talk about how it got there.
Okay.
I'm going to make sure that you have an answer to that. We're talking about how money problems can ruin a marriage. In fact, it's the number one thing that does ruin marriages. Now, I want to give you a plan to help you get out of your financial crisis. Now, I know it seems really overwhelming right now, but you can learn to manage this. So today, I'm going to give you the top 5 ways that experts say things you need to do to get out of debt. Now, number 5 on that list is learning everything you need to know about your debt. That means you need to understand the fine print. You need to be clear on important things like interest rates and fees. Now, you can go to DrPhil.com and you're going to have more on this step. Now, Pam and Chris are very clear about the exact amount of their debt because we've added it up and given it to them. It's $624,600. But what they can't agree on is how they got there.
Our current financial situation is dire.
I managed the money in the household. About 2 years ago, while I was in the hospital, Chris made our financial situation much worse. Chris spent $60,000 to $100,000 on God knows what. And he has the nerve to blame me for our debt getting out of control.
When I went to the hospital to ask her about the bills, she threw them back at me and says, "You'll have to deal with it."
And this is where our finances really started to unravel.
If I have a project or a goal, I can spend money very easily.
This is the barbecue that Chris started, the hall closet, the heating and air conditioning unit, my parents' motorhome. This is the car that he was supposed to fix. The way Chris is about finishing projects just frustrates the living hell out of me. He went online to Cash Call and decided to take a $5,000 loan out to pay the bills.
I told Pam it was 5.9%.
Lo and behold, it's at 60%. The guy has a physics degree. He should understand what interest rates are. He has no clue.
Do you have a lot of projects?
I have a lot of projects.
Okay, and you don't finish them?
I finish the ones that the funds are there for.
And if you don't get bored with it, and you get bored with them real fast.
The ones that haven't gotten done have always run out of money, or I have already determined to be a long-term, like the barbecue. I knew that was going to be like a 4 or 5 year project because it's going to take a lot of money to put together.
You also said you get bored with them and you don't like to keep working on them.
It takes you 4 or 5 years to put up a barbecue?
The barbecue is 20 foot long and almost 15 foot tall with the center burners on one side.
They've been taken out. Well, I know once I burned it, but
You can build a house in a year.
Oh, I know that.
Let me tell you something, because I'm kind of cut to the chase on this. You're hugely in denial here, and you're playing semantics and justification games about things that are just not credible. It doesn't take 4 or 5 years to build a barbecue, okay? So, and you're saying he gets bored and he quits on this stuff.
yeah, he gets bored.
She
with
says
it.
that 75% of the credit card debt is in your name, most of it because you buy, it's all in her name, that 75% of it is your expenditures on these projects and tools and things that don't ever get finished. Is that true or false?
That is inaccurate.
That is inaccurate. So y'all disagree about that?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Chris, let me be very clear. I've assessed this situation for days. I've read everything we've asked you guys. And in my opinion, this is certainly not all your fault. It is certainly not all your fault. I'm going to talk about that. But if you don't acknowledge some of these things, you're getting ready to get a divorce.
I know that.
I don't think you do. Because if you do, you wouldn't be a right fighter. You wouldn't be in here trying to justify things that aren't justifiable. Look, we are in tough economic times right now. And you guys have collectively created some problems. But if one of you is either delusional or one of you is just simply not owning up to the situation, and the reason that's important is you can't fix what you don't acknowledge. Now, you say, and I'm reading this as a quote, 75% of the credit card debt in your name is Chris's fault, not responsibility, fault, for spending too much on projects and tools. $17,000 on Visa card, $11,000 on a second credit card, $10,200 on a Sears card, $10,000 on your student loan, $9,000 on General Motors credit card, $1,200 on Macy's, and you two have refinanced your home.
Yes.
To the tune of $121,000. You got an e-loan home equity line for $168,000.
But we refinanced to get rid of the equity line of credit once to a $300,000 mortgage.
Oh, that's my next line. I'm getting there. So we got 121, 168, 300,000, and then you can't remember all the unfinished products because there are too many. 8,000 barbecue, 5,000 garage, 3,000 wood burning stove, 2,000 bedroom closet, cabinets at your mother's house, guest room closet. You've got so much debt here. Why do you care what's in the guest room closet? You can't afford to have any guests.
I just wanted it back to being a closet. Everything was piled out in the room. I got sick of looking at it.
So
I wanted
this isn't
it back.
all Chris.
Back looking at it.
She would
I
tell
never
me
said
to
it
do a
was all-
project.
I never meant to say it was, or made you feel that it was all Chris. I do take some responsibility of it.
I mean, I would get a project. She would say, I want my closet back as a closet. I want my hall closet so I can put things
But it was
into
a closet when you took it
And-
apart. Why couldn't you? You told me you couldn't use the wood.
This is math, not magic. You can't afford that.
That's right.
If you're keeping your stuff in a box in the garage, you can't afford to redo a closet. You don't own your home anymore. The bank owns your home.
That's right.
Well, today I'm talking about what to do if you're one of the millions of Americans that are in serious financial trouble. I mean, you're worried, are you going to be able to pay for your house, cars, food? What about the kids, holidays? I mean, all of these things are so much pressure on people right now. And if the fear and stress over money problems seems overwhelming, I want you to know that there are ways to manage this, but you've got to understand this is math. It doesn't matter what you think you deserve. It doesn't matter what you think you should have. And you have to start redefining some terms. You just have to take the word fixed out of your vocabulary. You can't think of your income as fixed. You can't think of your expenses as fixed. We've been counting down the top 5 ways that you have to use to manage your debt. Number 4 is honor all of your debt is equal. It's never okay to not pay something. If you want a bill to go away, you need to pay it, plain and simple. They just don't go away. You can go to DrPhil.com for more information about this step as well. I'm talking to Pam and Chris. They are on the brink of divorce because they are over $600,000 in the hole. Pam says that a major thing that's contributing to their financial mess is what she calls Chris's freeloading adult daughter, who she says Chris refuses to kick out of the house.
My wife believes all our financial problems are due to my daughter living in this house.
Chris's daughter is a big financial burden on us. 5 years ago, Chris's daughter moved in with us, and we spent about $75,000 on her medical expenses.
My daughter has become an excuse for the problem. It really ticks me off.
The crux of the problem is his daughter living with us for free. Chris refuses to charge her rent. We bought her furniture, bought her clothes, painted the bedroom, get her hair done, got her nails done.
I am not gonna just kick her out.
I'm tired of paying her way. She's going on 24. She needs to grow up and get the heck out.
Okay, why isn't she paying rent?
Because I haven't asked her to.
Because
She only has a
told
part-time.
me that you didn't have to pay rent when you lived at home with your parents at that age, and she didn't have to pay rent, is what you told me.
That's true, I did say that.
Y'all could make money as ventriloquists because I thought I asked you a question and you threw your voice and it sounded like Pam was answering.
There are some talents here.
That's a trick. Listen, you can't afford for your daughter, you can't afford to be living there yourself. Listen, I told you, I want to deal with the financial issues here first, then I want to talk about the relationship issues. Okay, because listen, you guys are teaching tools, right? I mean, I'm here to help you. I'm gonna bring you resources to do that. But everybody at home's going to school on this. And here's the deal. When you get in financial trouble, you have to deal with reality. You have to deal with reality. This stuff you're saying, I didn't know what he was doing, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. You're out doing these refinances of your home. Biggest mistake you can make. We'll talk about that in a minute. But you've got to deal with reality. You have a justification for everything. I can ask you a yes or no question. I can ask you, tell me the temperature. You're going to give me an essay answer, aren't you?
Pretty close.
I bet you were good on essay test.
No, I don't write well.
Yeah, well, you don't talk well either. You make a lot of noise, but you don't make a lot of sense. I'm serious here, and this is about reality. We did a simple calculation. If you got average interest rate, which you can't get because your credit is so bad, do you have any idea how long it would take to pay this debt off? Look over your left shoulder.
Probably 75 years, 100 years.
83-year minimum. How old are y'all?
Too old, 55.
Yeah, so do the math. You'll pay this off at about 135.
You did.
So you can't get there from here. You just can't get there from here. So you've got to start making some realistic decisions. I have some reinforcements here. Amelia Warren Tiagi is a personal financial expert and author of All Your Worth, the Ultimate Lifetime Money Plan. Now, she's here today. She's been here before. Amelia, thanks for being here.
Good to be here, Dr. Phil.
Could they have made bigger mistakes?
Wow, I can't think of any. you know, you guys need to prepare yourselves. I hate to tell you this, but I think the first move you may need to make is to call the bank and see if you can give that house back. You don't own that house anymore. You're $150,000 underwater. And right now, the smartest move is to walk away and find an apartment you can actually afford.
Because they've refinanced this house to where they're upside down in it, right? They just can't, and there's no way that they're going to get that paid off. They're going to get out of that.
And that's the worst kind of debt you can take on. Look, all debt is bad debt. There's no such thing as good debt. But you put that debt on your house. You put your house on the roulette wheel, gambling you can make every payment every month.
Okay, now let me make sure you understand what we're saying here. When you have your house, you have a homestead exemption here, and if you have trouble, financial trouble, you have to go bankrupt, you have people coming after you, they can't take your house unless you refinance it. And if you've refinanced your home, you've taken a home equity loan, you've now collateralized these other loans with what was protected, and it's no longer protected. And that's what you mean when you say you're putting it on the roulette wheel. It's no longer exempt. They can come and get your house. Today we're talking about how stress and fighting over a financial crisis can just tear your relationship apart. Now, if you're worried about money and overwhelmed by the stress, there are things that you need to do. You need to change the way you think if you're ever going to get out of financial trouble. Now, we've been counting down the top 5 ways to get out of debt. Number 3 is obvious. You have to make larger payments on the debt with the highest interest, because you wind up with the kind of projections that we were talking about before with an 83-year payout. You got to get rid of that high interest debt. Now, look, go to DrPhil.com. We're going to give more information about these steps. We're going to have other things there. Pam and Chris aren't even making a lot of their minimum payments. In fact, they're just not paying some of their bills at all. Pam says she's ready to walk away and just wipe the slate clean. Chris says, look, that's not the answer. He doesn't want a divorce, and he needs his wife to talk to him without blaming him for everything. Now, you understand that we're into survival mode here. A lot of people in America are in this situation. They're in survival mode. This isn't about how you can sock something away for old age. What we're talking about here is how you survive. What did you think when Amelia says you probably need to walk away from that house?
I think I've pretty much come to that conclusion before I got here when I emailed you and first
that's
wrote
not
in.
a happy thing.
No, it's not a happy thing.
Do you get that that's where you are?
I understand that's where we are. It's not what my goal was. It wasn't the goal at all, and I don't want to lose the house because I don't, even though my name's on it, I don't consider it mine.
Okay, but this is, what we've said is we're not going to be in denial. Right. This is like you've fallen off the back of the boat, you have an anvil tied around your neck, and you have to swim to shore. Now, when somebody comes and says, look, cut the anvil loose, and you've at least got a chance of making shore. But right now, this house is like an anvil around your neck. You are upside down in it, and there are so many people in America that got into these homes with subprime mortgage and one thing and another, and there's just no way to get out of them. True?
Yeah, it's true. This problem is happening. We've got millions of people out there losing their homes, and, you know, not all of them made the kind of mistakes you all made, but it's happening everywhere.
Are they candidates for bankruptcy, in your opinion?
For you folks, I would say walk away from that house and try and pay off your debt. I don't think we need to file for bankruptcy right this minute, but I would still get on the phone with a good attorney just in case it comes to that.
Okay, why not? Why not file bankruptcy when there's $624,600 in debt?
Well, I tell you why, and there's 2 reasons. The first is bankruptcy ain't going to help with your student loans. You're looking at, what is it, $75,000 between the 2 of you in student loans. Those are following you anyway. And now we've got $450,000 on that house. And if you're going to give the house back, hopefully you can work it out with the banks, and that's going to be some negotiation that they'll take a short sale on that house and you can walk away.
Yeah, there's 6 vacant houses out where we're at right now.
The bank doesn't want the house, right? I mean, they don't want the house, they want the money.
They want the money, but they also get the dry lemon principle. There's folks walking away from houses all across. You may need to file for bankruptcy, though, to get them to take that house back.
Let's be realistic here. You do anticipate an inheritance coming down the pike, right?
Of some sort from my parents, yes.
Right.
I don't know how much
exactly,
and
but if you get that inheritance before you get bankruptcy protection or before you get yourself out of debt, it's gone, true? Wouldn't that be sucked in as an asset to the estate for bankruptcy?
Yes, it would, Dr. Phil. Yes, it would. And any creditor can come and tap your bank account. You know, you said you're getting sued. They're going to go after whatever's in your bank account and take it out.
That scares me to death. Because I don't have, I mean, everything I had went in my house when I only owed $80,000. I put $75,000 cash in it to have it built out of money I had previously. So I'm willing to walk away from it as much as it hurts, and I know I need to, and it's scary.
Okay. But the good news is you two have a great income, right? I mean, we have something to work with here, whereas a lot of people are in these positions and they just don't have income to fall back on. At least, you know, we have a cash flow here.
Yeah, but
So-
my income is limited.
Well, it may have to get unlimited. We may have to do some things to bring it about. And I understand that's not as easy as said than done. Now, I know millions of you are stressed about finances right now. We've been counting down the top 5 things you have to do to get rid of that mounting debt. Now, you can find these steps on DrPhil.com. Number 2 is always try to make more than the minimum payment. If you've got debt, you got to try to accelerate its reduction. Now, I've been talking to Pam and Chris. They say their debt is not the only struggle in their marriage. They may not agree on how they got into financial trouble, but they agree that their sex life is non-existent.
Right now, I really don't find Chris sexually appealing at all.
Pam hasn't initiated any type of advances towards me in 5 years.
I don't want to be intimate with Chris because I think he's fat, selfish, clueless. Some of the things he does disgust me, and I don't want to sleep with him.
Pam has compared my advances towards her as rape. I've just been sleeping on the couch.
It's really hard to be loving and affectionate to someone who has created all these problems and really takes no accountability for anything. I don't know if I love him or not.
Tell me why you think she's having a problem with you in this regard.
I consider some of the issues that are, I have gained probably 80 pounds since we were married. She's an excellent cook. I have...
I don't cook much anymore.
No. Some of the other things that I don't know why, because our communications don't exist.
Okay. Do you not know why, or do you not want to think about why?
I don't.
Do you think she respects you?
No.
Do you think she trusts you?
No.
Do you think she relies on you as somebody that's going to be there for her mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, in any way?
At this time, probably no.
Do you think this has become a parent-child relationship?
I consider it feels like I am a child in the house. I'm being told what to do, how to do it.
So how am I doing?
You're doing okay. Wouldn't have thought about the parent-child.
Oh my God, you
yeah.
talk about him like he's 5 years old.
Well, he doesn't want to make any decisions. It's always you figure it out. You know money. You know how to do this. You don't know. I don't know how to talk to a creditor. I don't know how to address problems. Well, you got to do something.
Okay. And so you do all this, right?
So I do as much as I can.
And isn't that a parent-child relationship?
I guess
we have to shepherd him along. He doesn't know how to talk to people about bills. He doesn't know how to read the fine print to know the difference between 5.9% and 60% interest.
I've tried to help him out, but if I help him, then it's just it gets to be dumped on me to do all the time. I have not found a way to get him started or help him where he'll take it over and keep on going with it. Like E-loan, I'm not on it. You get behind, you get the delinquent notice. Well, they won't talk to us when we're behind. They won't talk to me when we're current. And I go, Chris, they're sending letters that say they will.
And when I call them,
they say
oh, you're behind until you're current. We won't make any refinance.
Don't understand that. I just don't understand it. They won't talk to me because I'm not on it.
Do y'all notice that you both talk at the same time a lot? No, seriously, do you notice that?
Yes.
Because you say we don't communicate. You can't talk and listen at the same time. And you both talk at the same time an inordinate percentage of the time. And I asked you if you thought this was a parent-child relationship, and you wanted to discuss a phone with an e-loan collector.
Only because of the fact that trying to get him to make phone calls to do things, which is a parent-child, I guess, relationship.
So that would be a yes.
So it would be a yes.
We're counting down the top 5 things you can do to manage that debt. Number 1 right now, which is cut up all of your credit cards. You can't spend money you don't have. You can't borrow your way out of debt. It just doesn't work. You're going to find, if you go to DrPhil.com, I got 5 more things you need to do to manage this debt. Now, okay, look, right now, you're in serious financial trouble. You're going to have to make some really hard-edged decisions to get out of it. I think Amelia is exactly right. I think this house is like an anvil around your neck when you're swimming ashore. You'll never get it paid off. You'll never get out. You don't make enough money. You don't have enough discretionary income to start reducing the amount of money you're upside down. So, I mean, if you stay there, if they stay there, they are headed for bankruptcy, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, and if you get rid of the house, then maybe you're not. But if you stay there, you're insolvent. There's no way. You don't own the house anyway.
No, we don't.
You quit owning that house when you took out $300,000 worth of loans against it, which were more than it's worth, and the people that loaned it to you forgot, what are they thinking? They're not going to get their money back. You're not going to get to keep your house. This is a lose-lose for everybody. That's the reality here. You are, somehow or another, you've got this kind of attitude that if I don't think about this, it just isn't there. But the point is, this woman's going to divorce you if you don't man up and get involved in working through these things. You've got to come up with a plan that the two of you will stick to.
And I think right now, when I do lose the house, I don't know that I wouldn't file for divorce.
Is that where you are?
Because that's the last straw. I just don't, the trust isn't there, and I'm afraid to stay any farther. I just want to get my stuff squared around and get myself squared around.
And that's what you want to do?
That's what I want to do.
And how do you feel about that?
I would consider divorce a failure, and failure is not an option in this. I don't see divorce solving the problem financially or anything. I can understand the trust issues. I can understand why she would want a divorce because of the house, losing the house, and it was one that she acquired from previous monies that she had. But how's that going to fix tomorrow?
She's not divorcing about the financial situation. She's divorcing because you have been unplugged and you've not been a partner with this, and she feels alone. And she's saying, if I'm going to lose everything, why am I going to keep dragging him? Right?
That's basically the way I feel, right?
I'm going to lose it all. Why do I keep dragging him? That's where she is. And your job is to show her that you want to plug in and partner through this situation to land on your feet again. That's your job. What you're going to have to do that, or she's going to wind up divorcing you. And I'm trying to give you a wake-up call to say she needs to understand you bring something to this for her, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, management-wise, all of that. You've got to plug in here. You can't just keep explaining everything away. You've got to plug in, and you've got to convince her. There are 2 things that I want you to do, if you would, the 2 of you, Chris, Pam. Number 1, I want you to sit down with an attorney that can look at all of your debt and all the things get all the cards on the table and examine the strategy. Do you need to give your house back, which I think the answer is going to be absolutely yes, and do you need to take bankruptcy, which may or may not be true depending on the pendency of this inheritance and that sort of thing. I want you to make informed decisions. You've not made informed decisions. So we are going to make that resource available to you. We're going to locate you an attorney in your town that will sit down with you and talk about this. And Amelia, I'm going to ask you to stay plugged in with these 2 as well. And let me tell you, she'll tell you the truth whether you want to hear it or you don't. And it'll be right, by the way. And secondly, before you decide to pull the plug on this, I do want to arrange a counselor for the 2 of you to sit down and talk about ownership in these problems. And Chris, you're going to have to, I said you're going to have to man up. You're kind of like, well, I don't know, it's here, it's there, I was working on this and I didn't finish it, If that's the way you're engaged here, you're headed for divorce. I told you that at the beginning of the show. But I want you to have the opportunity to declare a new day and partner with your wife in a different way. So I want you to do those two things before you pull the trigger. And we'll do them right away. I'm not saying this is going to be like a 6-month thing. Are you willing to do that? Chris?
I am.
Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.